Welcome to our Facebook Live today. I'm Georgia Purdom, and we are going to be talking about Sacred, Embracing God's Design for Sexuality. This is our Answers for Women conference that's coming up April 5th and 6th. So we're just 2 weeks away on this Friday, and from 2 weeks from this Friday. And we're really excited that we're going to be having it at the Answer Center, brand new Answer Center at the Ark Encounter 2,500 seat auditorium. So we will have plenty of room for everyone as we grow the conference. Sometimes that's been an issue. So we're really happy to be at the new Answer Center this year. And we have a great lineup of speakers that are planned for the conference. And I am just so thrilled today to be able to have June Hunt talk with us. And I'm going to be talking with her a little bit about her presentation there. But for those of you who may not know her, she is the founder, CEO, and CSO. That stands for Chief Servant Officer of Hope for the Heart. She is an author, a singer, and a speaker, and founder of Hope for the Heart, which is a worldwide biblical counseling ministry. She hosts 2 national radio programs, including Hope in the Night, featuring live call-in counseling. She has a 100-topic biblical counseling library, and that's in 30 languages and on 6 continents, and it really provides biblical hope and practical help for today's problems. And I know I've heard her radio program many times in the evening in my car as I was traveling, and have always been encouraged by it. And so we're just so happy to have you here with us, June.
It's such a joy. I so respect Answers in Genesis, and one of our team members has just come back from the Ark. And so I would say you are inviting people, come 2 by 2, bring people with you 2 by 2, because everyone would need to experience the Ark encounter.
Right. And so we're so excited to have the conference there, because not only can the ladies come, but they can bring their families and they can be enjoying the Ark itself. And so it really is something for the whole family. So the theme of this conference is sexuality. So we're going to be talking about a lot of the major topics in our society and in our world today that deal with that issue of sexuality. And the one that you're going to be talking about, that the title of your talk is How to Rise Above Abuse, Victory over Victimization. And you're specifically going to be talking about childhood sexual abuse and the effects that that can even have in those individuals even today, and how they can find hope. So first of all, define for us, what is childhood sexual abuse?
Mm-hmm. Well, the word abuse is mistreatment. It's wrong treatment. And so when there's sexual abuse, what you have is, for a child, that would be a minor, basically thinking of anyone under 18. We're talking about any type of physical, visual, even verbal interaction with a child by an older person, older child or adult. But the purpose is sexual stimulation and sexual satisfaction on the part of the perpetrator. And one thing that I think is important, I'll never forget the first time I learned that there were statistics. The statistics of childhood sexual abuse is stunning. And I was giving the statistics I had: 1 in 4 girls up to the age of 18, 1 in 6 boys. And a policeman worked at our ministry, a part-time policeman. And he said, June, the police statistics are 1 in 3 girls up to the age of 18 are victims of childhood sexual abuse, and 1 in 5 boys. And so you think about a group of girls, maybe it could be at a school or at a Sunday school, and you just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It hurts your heart when children don't know. They haven't been given the language to use unless there's an immensely wise parent. And by the way, in our conference, I am going to give you how to talk with children where you can do it and not feel, oh, this is too uncomfortable. I just don't know how to talk about this. We're going to give you an easy way to do this. In fact, let me just do it now, because I realize everybody can't come to this conference. So you think about, if you have a child and you say, honey, Bubba, this can be a grandchild, this can be a niece, a nephew, etc. And you say, God made you special. He made your body. He created you for good. And it is right for you to protect what he has given you. There are parts of your body that are called private parts. Never allow anyone to touch your private parts those are the parts that are covered by your bathing suit. So if someone tries to touch you in the area covered by your bathing suit, you must say no. You scream, you run, you come tell me, but it is absolutely right for you to say no, even if it's to an older person, whether it's a relative or a family friend, no matter what. Then we have a way to practice this where kids love it. Actually, they're saying, say no, and then no, you can do it better. Say no. And you do it with them so they get used to saying no. But they have to be told that even if somebody tells you it's right to keep a secret, no, that's wrong. You don't keep that a secret. You must tell me or someone you trust. So there's a way to do this in a healthy way.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, even in the culture that we live in today. And I read a lot of the news, which I do for a news program here. And you see that a lot of the sexual perpetrators today of children are older children. They're not even adults. They're older children that have become so sexualized through pornography and things like that they're perpetrating this on younger children. And then you've got issues of even going to the bathroom and not knowing who's in the bathroom. Like my daughter is a teenager, and I tell her when she's out in public, if she's with her friends, she needs to make sure that one of them goes to the restroom with her. And you think, well, that's being, that seems over the top, but this is a
No.
safety issue. I mean, even for me as an adult, like I, if she's with me, I want her to come with me because I don't know who's in there. And so we have to, I think, we're in a culture where this is easier and easier to do. People are having more and more access to children. And so we really have to be talking about this with our kids so that they're knowledgeable about it, so they don't fear in the sense of that they can tell us and talk to us about it.
Well, what you just said, to tell you, this is hard. This is, in fact, most children do not tell. And so be aware if there is any change in behavior with a child, for some reason you can tell that there's just something different. It could even be lowering grades at school and or being afraid or saying, oh, no, I don't want to go there. When, wait a minute, you've always, there's nothing wrong. You've always loved going to your grandparents' home. This happened to one of our team members. And she read a story. She said she was white as a sheet. She read somebody's story, and she was walking almost comatose. And we said, what's the matter? She said, I've just read my story. And it wasn't her writing, but it was somebody else. And what do you mean? She said, well, I remember, and she was 28 years old, this gal, and she was opening the mail, and she said, I never had told anybody, but my grandfather sexually abused me. And then I didn't want to go to my grandparents' home. And my mom and dad would say, of course you do. You always want to go. Well, if there's a clear aversion, that's a sign. If there's an aversion of what had normally been joyful and acceptable, you ask, honey, has anything happened that was unpleasant to you at your grandparents' house? Is there anything that was touched? Was any part of your body touched? I need you to be honest with me. And you say it's right for you to tell, because parents many times they don't even think to go there. So this can be a help for them to help children. And again, most people don't tell, and there are reasons why. I think, Georgia, you know that at times perpetrators are very clever, and there's a typical course of childhood sexual abuse, and it's three parts. And the first is there's a seduction. Now, the person who's doing the seducing, they know what they're doing. This is a person who calculates, but they give gifts, they special things, special favors, and they earn the right of the joy of this child. And then later it increases into stimulation. A back rub turns into something else that's truly calculated. And the child doesn't know how to think about this. I love this person, but I don't love what's happening here. And there's this love hate on the inside and tremendous confusion, but still feeling like, but we have a special relationship. See, that's some of the language. Ours is a very unique, special relationship, and it it's mixed with pleasure and pain. And so then the next step from seduction to stimulation is silencing. It's if you tell, I will kill your pet. If you tell, and then there are all these threats that can be, it's there's no way you can. It's like, well, I can't tell, and that's why children have to be given the permission to tell. And one major factor is if that child finally tells. Unfortunately, many parents say, "Oh, don't be ridiculous. That didn't happen." No, you don't ever respond that way. Tell me more. Tell me more, or get someone else with who is knowledgeable about childhood sexual abuse involved. Because again, if the statistics are so profound, 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 4 boys, 5 boys, excuse me, uh, you know, we many times would not know because perpetrators are very manipulative and gifted in their skill of perpetrating children. And children don't have the brain maturity. You, as a scientist, know that the brain does not even fully mature to age 25 to 28. And so they they are much more controlled by emotions, and it's like, well, I can't, I'm fearful. There's fear, there's the love hate, and not knowing what to do. So we have got to learn to help mothers and fathers. We've got to help educate them. If you're an aunt, then help be a part of helping children.
Oh yeah, and we need to have those kinds of relationships with our children that they feel they can tell us things. To have that trust relationship and that open relationship that because sometimes when children tell us things or ask us questions, there can be this sort of panic mode. Like, oh no, why are they asking this? Like, and we never want to. I always say, don't ever respond that way because then that closes them off. You want to
Yes.
say you want to take it in, you want to be calm about it, and you want to listen and really really listen to what they're saying so that you can help them. And I know you've had your own experience of abuse, so let's kind of move on to how does this affect then individuals as adults, and how has
Mm.
that helped you, with your ministry and what you do with Hope for the Heart?
Um, I at I never will forget when I one time was interviewing someone. We were a brand new program called Hope for the Heart, and I was interviewing someone who was speaking on a rare topic that was ever addressed, and that was childhood sexual abuse. And she described specifically what constitutes incest, and it's father to child. It's and then it could be a grandparent, an uncle, a cousin. And when she said cousin, my mind froze. I never, ever thought of that. I always thought incest was father to daughter. And so fortunately, this is being taped. And I said, after this is over, may I talk with you afterwards? And she said, yes. And I said, I didn't know that. And I had never told anybody. And here I am, an interviewer. Here we have this wonderful, practical, helpful radio ministry. And I'm finding myself now having to deal with something from the past because it was not natural for me to tell. I kept getting trapped. I didn't want to be trapped, and I didn't know what to do because it's family. Family protects family. I mean, you just and my mother would have acted on it. Yeah, I think it would have been stunning, but and so we have to. That's why we have to give permission to children to tell. Now, I eventually figured out I must not be in the same room with this male, and I avoided, and I continue. Well, again, remember I said earlier, if somebody's being avoidant and they don't want to go to somebody's house, well, this is what happened, and so I just avoided, but never spoke a word about it. So I today I'm so appreciative that we have material that we can read. In fact, I won't tell it now, but I'll tell about Miss America. She was sexually abused by her father from age 55 to 18 years old. And now that is her, this Miss America from Denver, Colorado, philanthropist father, all these things. And no one would have had any idea of what he had done with her, as well as another sister. So my point is, don't you think, well, that just doesn't, there's no way I would know anyone. Really? Do you know 1 in 3 girls? Would so and it is at different levels that there can be abuse, but it is a privilege to be able to. And by the way, I didn't speak of this for years. In fact, my producer didn't know about this until last night, and so I don't talk about it a lot. But if anybody asks me, you asked me, so I wanted to tell you exactly what had happened.
Mhm. So how do we, I mean, so you've had to come through this. How, as an adult, do you rise above that abuse? I mean, what is the hope, so to speak? You don't want to live your life as a victim, right? Because as Christ followers, as Christian, that is definitely not the biblical way to live our lives. So how do we rise above that?
One of the ways is you have to have a starting point. Do you do things where you feel like you're in a prison? Do you allow people to do certain things where you say no, and yet your no is not recognized or not respected, and then you just resign yourself to this? I think I've thought about this many times because of having a combination of a father who was cruel, and he was not sexually abusive, but yet he had all these women, and there was a lot of sexual immorality in my home. So I felt shut down. I felt I couldn't tell anybody anything. Nobody could I confide in. Nobody had my situation. And so you have to face the fact, I feel like at times I'm in a prison. It may not be a prison, but it's like I'm not free. And so just acknowledging that. Number two, there's a point of literally saying, is there a time when I need to confront? The Bible actually says, it's very specific. If someone sins against you, go and you confront that person. This is in Matthew 18:15. First you do it yourself, and then if it's not received, you take 2 or 3 with you. Now, you have to be at a point of safety. You have to feel that you're doing this out of strength, not anger. And meaning let me explain. Anger can be a positive, where Jesus went and he was angry at the money changers. They corrupt money changers, and it motivated him to action. In other words, to take vengeance is not the point. It is literally, though, to confront. And then, by the way, I know someone who was a speaker and a singer from years and years ago. And one day she called her brother. Both were adults. And she said, I'd like to talk with you. And then she went to him and said, I remember as a child what you did to me sexually. And I want you to know I have chosen to forgive you. And I just pray one day you would receive the forgiveness of God as I have received and be willing to come into a life changing relationship with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
It so stunned him. It most of the time, those actions from the past are denied. Oh, I didn't do that. But he did not deny it. 3 weeks later, he humbled his heart and for the first time prayed to receive Jesus as his Lord and Savior. Later, then he not only went to church, but he became a deacon because he had so humbled himself before God. It can be life changing following a confrontation because then someone sees the literal condition of their own hearts and they are confronted with the truth, and the Spirit of God can convict that person. But what I'm saying is there is a time of forgiveness. Now, forgiveness does not mean that they are excused from wrong behavior, but it's think about a hook, like an emotional hook. If you have all this pain hooked to you, it bears you down, it weighs you down. And forgiveness is the word release, literally means release. You're taking that person and the pain they've caused you off of your emotional hook, and you're putting that person onto God's hook. You're releasing them from your hook, putting them onto God's hook, because He is the one who says, vengeance is mine, I will repay. So we can't repay somebody for what cruelty they've done. Nothing really pays that back. But we can free ourselves from the excessive burden and release that person into the hands of God as an act of our will. That is forgiveness. And when the Son sets you free, you are free indeed.
Oh, that's a great way, I think, to end this, because I always say, with all of these different sexual issues and sexual problems that we're dealing with, the one hope and the one answer to all of this is Jesus Christ. It is his gospel that everybody needs in all of these situations. And so I am so looking forward to this whole presentation so we can hear the whole thing. Very practical. I love that when we have presentations that they're very practical, very biblical centered, and that's what we really try to offer here at Answers in Genesis. So thank you, June, and we look forward to seeing you in just a few weeks now.
Thank you, Georgia. I love what you do. I'm honored to be a part of the team.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. Well, we're the ones that are honored, definitely. And so, everyone, if you haven't signed up yet, it's not too late. You can certainly call in. Our number is 859-727-2222, and just tell them you want to register for the conference. And to find out more about the conference, you can go to answersforwomen.org. So I'm signing off for now, and I hope to see you here in 2 weeks at the Answers for Women conference.